All right, so after you have gone in and added all your comments on your before slides, so if all 5 of the before slides have comments about what needs to be improved, then you're ready to go ahead and do your makeover. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click on the slide and press duplicate. You can, for slide 6, delete these directions, and you're going to change the word before to the word after. And we're going to go back and look at one of the good examples. So I love how here they used green and kind of organized it into columns with little images underneath. So if we look back at ours, it says, how do these type of flows cause devastation? So I'm going to go ahead and look this up because this looks like an important keyword. So if we say insert image, search the web, I might search for that type of flow and get an example of it. I don't know if this is it, but we'll go ahead and we'll put this one in. So I have my image here, and then what I could do is right click and say send to back so it goes behind the text so I could see. Maybe I'll move my after just anywhere on the page, it doesn't matter. And then take my text here and make this column smaller. And maybe I want to go ahead and center this. And I can also maybe make this, it looks like it's an important, maybe a vocab word. So maybe I want to reformat my text and move my box down and then move this text box. I can make this box a lot smaller. It doesn't need to be that big. And then maybe I want to go into the highlighter and make this stand out a little bit. Maybe I want to make this and then maybe change this font too. And maybe instead of those dashes, I want to use bullet points. And maybe to make this more visually interesting, I could change the color of my text. Again, this already looks more interesting. Maybe what I would do is change the background color and maybe make it like a lighter gray just to add some interest. And then I could also, if this were me, I would take this image and maybe make, I kind of like the idea of putting a border around it and making my border match the other blue colors on the page. So again, I kind of chose blue, and this looks a lot more interesting. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot of text to it, but it just shows the devastation. It shows an example. Maybe this would be a better image, but you could choose any one that relates. It doesn't really matter. I changed the slide background. I made it look, again, there's not a lot of text here, but I added the border around the image, which I think adds that pop of color and the highlighter color. So again, an example of how you can edit it. I want to also, I'm going to go ahead and delete this example, and then I'm going to, or delete this slide. I'm going to go back up here and share with this just some options that you could do. So you have background options, which is slide background. You have layout options, which changes the way, like this has 2 columns, which I think is kind of helpful. So here it gives me 2 columns of text, and then I can go into my text box and I can say, all right, I want to copy and cut this and add it to this column. Then I want to go back in, copy and cut that last piece of text. Maybe move this box so I can read it. Copy this, cut and delete this box, and then paste it into this side. So it looks like this one got moved. So now I have 2 boxes. It looks a little more organized. I'm going to allow you, if you want to delete the words, you don't need the words after as long as your designs are different. So here I can go ahead. Here it says the volcano includes the cone of erupted material. So I'm going to say, I want a volcano showing maybe a volcano diagram. This here is a good example of a cone. So I can click and drag it. And again, you can play with images, but what I want to show you in this one is the use of shapes. So here it says a volcano is a venter chimney that connects molten rock or magma with the Earth's surface. So maybe if I want to take this as a summary, and maybe I'd say chimney and vent, make this kind of bold, maybe even change the font on those because those seem like important descriptor words. Changing the font. And then maybe I'm going to not make this a bullet point. I like the idea on this one that they used these summaries, these one sentence summaries that were in green. So again, I'm going to go ahead on mine and I'm going to make this a kind of summary box. So maybe to match this image over here, I'm going to do kind of a dark brown. And then I'm going to take off the highlighter and I'm going to make my text white. And maybe I'm going to make this more of like a lava color. And make this font maybe a little bit bigger. Maybe center it. Again, this makes this stand out a little more, and I would maybe consider adding another image or adding something visually interesting here. But this is one way to use shapes. I could bring in another shape and say, use a text box and say, maybe this is a standout word. So I say vent, and I'm going to make this a yellow box. These are just descriptions. They call it a vent or a chimney. So I'm just pulling out those kind of keywords. Copied and pasted, vent, chimney. Again, this is what I want people to remember, that a volcano is like a vent or a chimney. So maybe I'd go in and I'd get an image of a chimney. Add this to my slide and make it maybe a lot smaller in the bottom. And if I want this to go behind that box, I can right click on it and I can say order, send to back. So then it goes behind there. So again, this is a way to help make some of your text pop out. If this were me, the last thing I'd do is maybe change my font and maybe move it into the center. So again, using shapes, these are all different shapes and new text boxes. I pulled out some of the key words. I added another image for the description, and then I added kind of a focus image, a cone of erupted material. So think about using shapes, using the background, using the layout to add some organization and structure.